How's everybody doing today? Good. Sorry for being a little late. All right, you guys ready? All right, so first off, I want to just give an update on our city's first homicide here, and I want to especially thank the folks from Hennepin County CISA who really assisted us a lot with this case, and the Kansas State Patrol, the Oklahoma State Patrol, the Kate County Sheriff's Office, and the Blackwell, Oklahoma Police Department, who really helped assist us with the portion of the investigation once he got to Oklahoma. I also want to thank the witnesses that provided us information. Without them, we may have not caught this person. It would have took a lot of effort, and he almost got away if it wouldn't have been for what witnesses provided for us. And you'll see, I'm going to do my best to try to explain what happened. I know the criminal complaint came out today, but there's some information that is not in the criminal complaint, and we're going to be in the process of filing an amended complaint because obviously this is still an active, ongoing investigation. So on November 23rd, this past Wednesday, a little after 1 p.m., a male walked into the Code 2 restaurant located at 8907 Penn Avenue wearing a maroon hoodie, purple surgical gloves, and a mask. This is the picture that we were able to get from him off the video. This is the only description that we had of the male at this time. And as you can see here, that's not much to go on. The male, upon entering the business, immediately removed a handgun from a handgun that was covered in a Ziploc bag. So he had a pistol that was contained inside of a Ziploc bag. He immediately would point the gun at the eventual homicide victim in this case. The eventual homicide victim and several restaurant patrons were able to push the suspect out of the restaurant the first time. The suspect would immediately re-enter the restaurant and point his gun at the eventual homicide victim again, who, along with several restaurant patrons, were able to push the suspect out of the restaurant. Moving forward, you're going to understand why I called this dude a cold-blooded killer. After being pushed out the second time, the suspect would pace around the outside of the restaurant for about 20 seconds before re-entering the restaurant for a third time. The patrons and the eventual homicide victim would attempt to stop him for re-entering the restaurant, but they were overpowered by the suspect. The suspect was able to fire off a round at the eventual homicide suspect. And after the first round, he had what is referred to as a weapons malfunction. And I'm going to demonstrate that for you here because with one of our training guns, I've been shooting for a while, and to clear a weapons malfunction for someone who doesn't train can be extremely difficult to do, let alone the speed in which he was able to do this, all while the gun was contained in a Ziploc bag.
Chief, it's safe and clear.
Right. So this is one of our training weapons here, a weapons malfunction, in this case, which would commonly be referred to as a stovepipe. So if you got a limp wrist or something and you're shooting, he had a weapons malfunction. One of his bullets caught like this, and he was able to clear it. So weapons malfunction is when you're able to jack that round out of there. He was able to do this with one of the restaurant patrons on his back. So not only was he able to clear this weapons malfunction in a bag, he had a guy on his back. After clearing the weapons malfunction, he fired multiple rounds at the eventual homicide victim, and the person was able to eventually wrestle the gun out of his hand, and that was the gun we ended up recovering at the scene. But after wrestling that gun out of his hand, the suspect retrieved another pistol from his waistband that was also in a Ziploc bag. And he fired off additional rounds after that. At this point, again, it's an active investigation, but we believe that that's when the server was hit, because the server was laying on the ground next to the eventual homicide victim. After doing this, the suspect then fled the scene in in this white van. I think you can take a picture of this. This was taken from one of our squad videos as one of our squad cars drove by and was responding to the scene. This was the white van that he was eventually believed to have fled the scene in. Through investigative purposes, we ended up finally catching up with him in Oklahoma, where he was taken into custody in K County without incident. If it was not for the witness testimony that we received here, there was just like one little tip that kind of tied the relationships together. The steps he took to get away, I mean, I don't know if we would have caught this guy. I mean, flat out. I mean, he took every single step you could take to get away. Now, as to motive, it's stated in the complaint that the suspect had believed that his ex-wife was having a relationship with the victim. The ex-wife has been insistent that she has never had a relationship with the suspect or with the victim in this case, and we don't have any reason not to believe her at this point. So I know people want to call her, but she said she didn't have a relationship with him, and we don't have any reason whatsoever to believe that. The victim, the suspect, and the suspect's ex-wife all attended college together. The victim, or the suspect in this case, did such a good job of concealing his identity that none of the people in that restaurant knew who he was, despite the fact that a couple of them had went to college with him. He knew that the victim, the person that he targeted, would frequent that restaurant every Wednesday, so that's how he knew where he was going to be, and he picked that spot to go kill him. The suspect in this case, as everybody has known, is Aaron Lee, who's 47 years old. He has multiple addresses both in Minnesota and in Texas, and we understand that he is currently working in the Dallas area in Texas. He has been arrested. He is currently in K County, and he's got to have an extradition hearing. Now, obviously, you got to have he gets to decide if he wants to come back to Minnesota or not and fight that in court, and obviously we want him back here. The original criminal complaint is charging him with second-degree murder, but it is our intention to seek first-degree murder charges on him, because obviously this was a premeditated incident here for him to go and kill a man in cold blood. We're still waiting for the medical examiner to identify the victim in this case. So that's why we're not releasing his name. He was shot multiple times in the midsection and took one round to the head. So once the medical examiner is able to identify him, we'll get his information out there. But we want to respect him and his family, because this is a tragic, isolated event. I mean, this guy obviously came here to do that. And despite the fact that Mr. Lee here is killed somebody in cold blood, we are not cold-blooded here at Bloomington. So he's going to get our new accessory here. 'Tis the season. You shoot people in Bloomington, and you think you're going to get away. He's the first recipient of our new holiday edition blaze orange hat to go with his standard jumpsuit. You don't get to shoot people here and think you're going to enjoy the benefits of a free society. So he's the first recipient of our new hat. and he'll be back to Minnesota as soon as he gets through the extradition hearing. Before I take any questions, I just want to thank our detectives who did a tireless job and some phenomenal work on this. This is a very complex case, and we are still in the process of investigating this and finding out additional information as we go on. But rest assured, the person that was responsible for this cold-blooded murder is in custody at this point. So with that, I'll take any questions you may have.
To be clear, even if the ex-wife claims that she was not involved with the victim, still you believe that the suspect committed this crime because he thought there was a romantic link?
Yes, at this point, that's what we believe.
You say it was invaluable what the witnesses told you. Specifically, what was it? The vehicle?
So yeah, the vehicle information, and then a possible link. And I'm trying to word my words here because it's still an active investigation. The possible link between the suspect and the victims in this that we wouldn't have found had it not been revealed to us.
Did the suspect say something, or I mean, what was the? I mean, it looked like he was wearing a mask or something like that. What was the link that tipped off the witnesses to who he was?
So the witness who gave us information on him was not there in the restaurant. It was a person who was connected to this group of friends.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that FBI report that was made in August? Because according to the complaint, it said all three of them were involved in the crime.
So that report turned out to be unfounded. The suspect in this case had submitted, and one of our detectives are here, correct me if I'm wrong, submitted a tip to the FBI claiming that the homicide victim in this case and Mr. Lee's ex-wife were plotting to kill Mr. Lee and had a hit on him.
Oh, okay, so it was the other
It was the other way around. Yep.
Would you say that was unfounded?
Yes.
But a report was made.
The report was made, but the accusation was unfounded at this point.
Could you tell us a little bit of info on the gentleman that you guys might be looking for, the person who held the door?
So yes, let me clear. So we are not looking for any other person. That has been ruled out. That has been ruled out. And understand when we filed this complaint, it was right after the incident, and quite frankly, it looked like a hit, right? I mean, really, if you kind of read and what I'm saying here, and there was a person in there, it turns out this person, all they were trying to do was get seats for some other people who were waiting outside at the same time to get into the restaurant. So that person is completely unrelated to this incident.
So you're not looking for any?
No.
What was the timeline for this event? I mean, how long did this take for the whole thing to transpire?
Approximately 2 minutes. From the first time he came into the restaurant to when he left was approximately 2 minutes.
Left for the third time?
Yes.
Records show that he and his ex-wife had divorced 3 years ago. So had there been a history in this past, since the divorce was finalized, of him making other threats or any kind of danger to her in this time?
I don't think so, but I can check. We haven't, that hasn't been the case. I know he had one domestic charge that was eventually dismissed, but that was while they were married. So nothing since the 3 years being divorced.
They've been divorced for a while, so for him to then come out and show this jealous rage now, just wondering if there's any other elements to that you know.
At this point, no. We're still investigating everything, and these investigations are very complex, and they take time, but it just shows the complex nature of these things and how difficult they can be for us to solve. So I wish I had that piece of information for you.
Do you believe he came here from Texas specifically to do this, or had he been in the area?
We're still checking on that. Yep.
But he is from Lakeville.
He has multiple addresses. So he has some Minnesota residents, which are listed in Lakeville, and he also has some addresses that are listed in Texas. And currently he was working in the Dallas area right now. So we believe he was residing in Texas, but just didn't change his Minnesota driver's license and whatnot.
But you do still, I mean, you're saying you're upgrading the charges first degree. Do you believe that he went into that restaurant that day seeking out this victim?
Yes, yes, Absolutely. And it was, you come in there with surgical gloves, a mask, a hoodie, and you come in there with weapons in a Ziploc bag. You are able to skillfully clear a weapons malfunction in a Ziploc bag with a person on your back. I mean, I think for those people who shoot a lot, they can understand like how difficult that is to do and how much you have to practice to actually be able to accomplish clearing a weapons malfunction in a Ziploc bag with someone on your back. I mean, that's extremely difficult for someone to do. So obviously there was some planning that went into this.
Chief, could you explain the significance of the Ziploc bag?
So I think just pure speculation, there's two reasons. One, to keep DNA evidence off the guns. Two, to catch brass. So these, everybody knows when you're talking about, and this is an inert plastic round, but shell casings, right? So he did everything he could to cover his track. So if you're shooting in a bag, right, the rounds are going to go out into the bag and they're not going to be on the floor for us to retrieve.
So he shot the gun while still in the
Bag. Yes. And the gun, when the person on his back was able to get the gun out of his hand, it flew out of the Ziploc bag.
And what do you say about the fact that patrons there were able to fight with him and push him out of the store twice?
Yeah, they did. I feel for those folks. I mean, literally, this Mr. Lee could have killed everybody in that restaurant. He literally could have killed everybody in that restaurant, and it was obvious he was there to go after one person, and they put their lives on the line trying to protect one person, and that's something that is to be commended. And I'm pretty sure that they're going through their own trauma too from this.
How many people were there
4.
total in the restaurant?
Yeah, from what I was able to count. We're still looking at video to try to determine who else was in there. But
4 total, including the staff.
so right now, was wrestling with him was 3 people and the victim. So 4 people were wrestling with him originally before he started shooting.
So this other witness came forward, was not at the scene. Did Mr. Lee give some clue that he was going to do this? I mean, how did they know this had happened?
He did not know this had happened. And what happened was during the investigative process, obviously we're going to look at who's connected to who, and we ended up hitting on one person that was able to pin the relationship. But to this point, we haven't been told that anybody knew that this was going to happen.
Had no one seen what vehicle he got into?
Yes, a couple witnesses on the scene had said that they had saw him driving, leaving the scene in the white van. We also heard, so the other person that in the criminal complaint that people talked about, who went into the restaurant and then left, was a person driving the black SUV, and that's in the criminal complaint too. So you can kind of see the complex nature that our detectives had to work through when you're trying to decipher all this. But yeah, most of the witnesses said that he left the scene in a white Mercedes Sprinter van, and one person did say that the suspect left in a black SUV, and that person in the black SUV we've been able to rule out.
Without that information, then you probably wouldn't know.
Oh man, it would have, and I'm not going to get into our investigative techniques, but we eventually might have talked to him, but you'd be talking months down the road from now. I mean, he took every single precaution you could think of to not get caught for this cold-blooded murder he did.
How did you guys track him down there? I mean, did you set up a nationwide?
And it's listed in the complaint, cell phone ping. Yeah.
Does that kind of jive though, with someone who goes so far as to put his gun in a bag to hide casings, but yet doesn't dispose of his phone? You can't speak for everyone.
So I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of the investigation, but, and this is just my personal opinion, I think he believed he got away with it. I think he believed that he was in the clear, and that's why he turned his phone back on.
How close did you guys come to getting him at the scene?
Well, these are squad video photos here. So, I mean, our squads are obviously driving to the scene, driving cold to get there because we got a shooting, and we were successfully able to pull one of the videos of the van driving by. Did we know it was him? No, we didn't have that information at the time.
Chief, do you have any ballpark idea of the whole extradition process and how long that might take?
So it varies. So the way extradition works is he goes before a judge, and Mr. Lee has the ability to either submit to extradition or fight it. So let's just say he decides that he agrees to get extradited to Minnesota. Then it's a matter of how long it takes the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office to go down and get him. And that's the extradition process.
Was there a gun recovered?
Yes, at the scene.
What, do you believe it was the weapon that killed the victim here? You said there were two weapons.
There were two.
Was there another weapon recovered during the arrest?
So we're still trying to, no, at this point we got one gun, so we're still looking for another weapon. And we won't know which gun was responsible for that until after the medical examiner finishes up their investigation.
You have the mask?
We have some mask, so we don't know if it's, we can't specifically say it was the mask that he used, but.
Any idea who it was? I mean, is it a TV mask or?
No, honestly, and I like horror movies, and I haven't. I don't know. I mean, and it's. I mean, you can kind of see from the picture here. You know, and that's why initially, you know, I know people were asking for us to get out a suspect description, but when this is all you got, what do you say? Right? I mean, you know, we don't know. There's no way to know a race of the person. You don't know. This is what you got, and this is what we had to go on.
How did that arrest go down when he got pulled over down there?
My understanding is without incident, and I know our folks here told me that the folks down there are going to release their body camera video. They got different body camera rules in Oklahoma than we do. So my understanding is they're going to release the video of his arrest on a traffic stop down there. Any other questions?
I think we're good.
Thanks for coming.